So Bob is going to talk to us about how to develop a framework for creating AI innovation inside your business and sort of doing it in like a product development framework. So Bob is a global authority on innovation management, and he's the creator of the stage gate process. This is used by companies worldwide to drive successful new product development. Bob's a prolific author, an award-winning scholar, and has shaped industry best practices through decades of research, consulting, and leadership in the field of product innovation. So without further ado, I'm going to ask my colleague Laura to start Bob's presentations. Bob unfortunately couldn't join us today, but he dialed in a few weeks ago to talk to our PhD students, and this is that presentation.
It's really good to be here with you guys. One of the things a lot of people don't realize is that although AI has been touted for many, many different activities in the company to save money, to improve productivity on the factory floor and things like that, a big study done not so long ago pointed out that the biggest impact has been increased innovation, which was really, really surprising because most people thought that was going to improve productivity or business resilience or revenue growth or operational efficiency, but it was actually increased innovation followed by sustainability. So two very positive things coming out of AI. And of course, we're talking about innovation today, so let's just carry on. One of the things when I got into this big time, about two and a half years ago, I was overwhelmed with the number of applications for AI in product development. Everything from coming up with good ideas to designing the launch strategy, to doing pricing, to doing post-launch tracking of the product in use. It was overwhelming. There were something like 40 or more applications and 400 suppliers of software, AI software, peddling their software to R&D directors, engineering directors, etc. And because I was overwhelmed in discussions with another chap in Germany, who's editor of one of the big journals, he and I sort of came up with a model that maps the landscape. And the two dimensions are the east-west is the location in the new product process, and we use the standard stage gate nomenclature here from ideation all the way across to commercialization and finally post-launch. And on the vertical axis, we use that dimension he had been talking about for some time. The role of AI, is it a facilitator, like processes a lot of data and cranks out a whole bunch of numbers? Or is it an originator? Does it actually create something like an idea or the design for a new automobile? That's creative. And as a result of this mapping, here's the front end of the new product process and the back end. As a result, we ended up with a map like this. Now, not all 40 applications are here, but it gives you an indication of the possibilities for AI in product development. I mentioned ideation, but there's also scanning the internet for needs, exploration, market analysis, market assessment, handling unstructured voice of customer data. There's actually a company in the United States that is using AI to predict what customers will say in interviews, and as a result are able to develop much more efficient interview guides and cut the number of interviews in half and get just as good results. And so then we get down more into the middle phases of the new product process, development and testing, like prototype development, virtual prototypes, digital twins. Digital twins, basically, there's a lot of talk about digital twins. One type of digital twin is a product digital twin, which is basically a simulation of the product, so you can test it, put it through its, how it might act in real life, long before you commit to building a physical prototype. Another kind of digital twin is a data digital twin, and think of it this way: think of it as a Tesla automobile with all kinds of sensors in it that send information to Tesla's headquarters so people can monitor the vehicle as it's actually in use. And that kind of data digital twin basically is very useful for field trials where you're testing the product in use, and also for follow-up with customers to make sure they're happy customers. all the way down to developing the launch plan, manufacturing optimization. I'm not even going to touch manufacturing today because that's a whole different ball game. And there's so many applications of AI for the factory floor, et cetera. And then finally into the back end, identifying problems customers have, ensuring customer satisfaction. And I already mentioned the Tesla digital twins, and that is a fact. Actually, they can monitor if you are lucky enough, or perhaps these days unlucky enough to own a Tesla. They're monitoring how you're driving it, how well it's working, and sending you messages that you might need some maintenance on your vehicle. So that's a very, very handy map to show you what's going on out there. Now, this is a nice map. I'm not suggesting that every company in the world is doing all of these. In fact, as we'll see in a few minutes, anything but. I'm going to give you a bit of a flavor. Obviously, in just 20 minutes, I can't give you again and go into too much detail, but give you a bit of a flavor for some of the things that are happening here. One of the things AI is being used for is idea generation. And there's been some research done on the quality of ideas. Now, one approach is AI simply to go online, analyzing huge amounts of customer data that is found online. And it is amazing how much data is not just consumer products, but it's also industrial products. For example, I was doing work for a company that made agricultural tractors, and they were stunned to find out how many comments farmers make about their vehicles, about their equipment. There was something like 2 million online comments that they had been missing completely from various blogs that farmers would say, I just bought a John Deere tractor and it did this and this, and I don't like it because of that. Enormous amounts of information. Upside is a software company, uses AI to help its clients generate new product ideas by analyzing open-ended responses from surveys and interviews. AI will take all of this open-ended stuff, sentences, and actually go as far as clustering the major themes and even developing charts and graphs based on those interviews. And if any of you have ever tried to analyze open-ended responses, meaning sentences, from hundreds of interviewees, you'll know how difficult it is and how frustrating it is. And as a result, oftentimes it doesn't get done. There's a number of other vendors. These are 10, I think it's 10 or 9 vendors of different software. You might want to go online and just check out some of these guys. They all offer demos. So if you want to see it in action, just be a little careful. You'll probably have some sales guy after you. Here's another one I've used recently. I wrote an article in the IEEE Engineering Management Review about the front end of innovation. And as an experiment, I used ChatGPT or equivalent, those maybe another software, to generate superb ideas. And I've done this several times for different companies. Just put in the requirement, like I'm in the chocolate bar business. I'm Cadbury, and I want to come up with a new chocolate bar that doesn't have as much chocolate because chocolate's too expensive these days. Also, it's got to be healthier because people are looking for health bars. So please come up with 10 ideas. And my goodness, it comes up with 10 fantastic ideas. At the time, my daughter was marketing director for a competitor here in Canada, and she couldn't believe the quality of the ideas that ChatGPT came up with for the chocolate bar business. Here's some other real life examples. Unilever, British company, as you know, using AI to develop a new range of skincare products. They used AI-powered algorithms to analyze social media online and identify emerging skincare trends and developed a whole new range of products that were aligned with customer needs and customer preferences, what folks were saying online. Nestle in Switzerland, biggest food company in the world. This is coming from their CTO, Chief Technology Officer, a guy called Pulitzer. We developed a clinical data mining approaches, which allows us to do discoveries based on existing clinical studies. I don't know if you've ever been to Lausanne in Switzerland. That's their headquarters. And their R&D facility, being the biggest food company in the world, is like a university campus. And they've done so much research on food. There must be basements full of research studies. They're mining this. They're mining this. And they say, we've valorized more than we already have done in terms of clinical studies. And they're creating literally billions of euros from these inventions that were sitting dormant in the basement. This is he was giving this talk publicly. Here's a company in Boston. This is a company that I know the owner of it. She's a wonderful lady, Kristen Corrigan. Uh, Give her a shout sometime. What she does is she scans blogs, user forums, and social media to find patients' comments about different medical devices. For example, one she told me about was glucose monitors. That's if you have diabetes, I believe. And she found, for example, by scanning 120 detailed needs were identified by AI. I think she found something like 20,000 sentences, and that they were reduced to 120 detailed needs. They did a quick online, a quick phone survey to make sure they really had the right ones, because you have to have human oversight here. And basically, they came up with 2 or 3 characteristics that people were really concerned about: enhanced data management and security, minimizing the number of test strip used, and withstanding more severe conditions like dropping it, and came up with a new product based on this, and it was a huge success. Of course, Kristen basically found out everything that people were saying, their points of pain about these monitors. In the new product process, if you go to the concept phase, which is the next stage after discovery, some of the normal tasks that you see here are market assessment, technical assessment, concept development, business assessment, etc., prior to building a full business case. And AI does all of these. AI can be used to conduct the market research, basically using online information, market analysis far more efficiently and effectively, getting reports online, etc. I've used it. It works fantastically well. You should give it a try. I even used AI to do a technical assessment on a variable speed pump I was working with on a company, and it came up with a far better technical assessment. The risks, the potential solutions, the likelihood of technical feasibility, the likely technical solutions. It came up with all that stuff far better than the project team did. Here's another example from Nielsen. I'll blow through some of these slides fairly quickly because I am cognizant of time. AI automates the process of extracting insights from voice of customer information. That means unstructured data. It's called natural language processing. They do text mining and also speech recognition. So think of how many pieces of information are lost. Think of that tractor, for example, John Deere in the US, out there doing a field trial with maybe 10 tractors in the field at 10 different farms. And the number of comments the farmer's making about not liking where the steering wheel is and not liking where the gear shift is, all those comments are lost by putting recorders on the vehicle and then recording what the farmer's saying as he's using the vehicle, cursing and swearing under his breath, and then analyzing it using AI. Wow, what a treasure trove of information to build in to the tweaking of the product before it's launched. Technology assessment is another one. AI provides real-time insights on technology trends, and ChatGPT will answer questions on the fly, and it'll generate research plans and rapidly pulls together statistics. Perplexity Pro is the one I use, and I actually pay for this. It's very impressive. It'll do a full technical assessment on a new product project. The likely technical solution, the size of the technical gap. Are we looking at new science, or is this an engineering repackage? The technical risks and the mitigating actions. And there's a number of software companies that provide, and I'm not basically recommending any of these. I just pulled them up because they have pretty pictures, but this is a typical one, CB Insights. And then once you're into development, there are so many. Now, this is where it gets a little more expensive because the software suppliers are supplying much more here. Obviously, some of the things I've been talking about have been relatively inexpensive, if not free. Now we're getting serious. Product design. AI streamlines the design by automating many of the design tasks, such as creating 3D models or generating technical drawings. And it can be used to design products that are more user-friendly, aesthetically pleasing. Autodesk is a typical one. If you want to look it up, it's a big one. Prototyping, AI can be used to create digital prototypes. These are product digital twins. Siemens, for example, the big German engineering firm, engineering and equipment company, uses AI to create virtual prototypes that can be tested and refined before they're built. Optimizes their designs for performance, requires the number of iterations that are done by the physical designers. Here's a good one. This is MIT helping General Motors in the United States. MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, big school. Machine learning models can not only predict the appeal of new aesthetic designs, but generate designs that are aesthetically pleasing or aesthetically innovative, thereby eliminating one of the steps in the new product process, which was where they used to bring tons of customers in to look at different concept designs and vote on them. That was a very expensive process and took up to a couple of months. So they have a generative model that creates the new car designs based on prompts about colors, body type, image, viewpoints, and it forecasts how consumers will rate the designs. And you can learn more about it. I've left this link here. Result, a 43% improvement in car design results versus the old traditional way of some guy designing it and then bringing in consumers to vote on it. Here's another one, GE. GE has managed to cut product design times in half. One of their products is jet engines and turbines. It takes typically 2 days at GE, the old way, to run a computational analysis of a single design for a turbine blade on an engine. 2 days. So the designer would design the blade and then he put it into supercomputers and do all kinds of fluid dynamic analyses, etc. The new way, scientists in their upstate New York facility use machine learning to train a surrogate model that can evaluate 1 million designs in 15 minutes. Unbelievable. Now, here's a real neat one. It's not just big companies. This is a small company called Buy Aircraft. And they basically bought or rented or leased Siemens digital twin software. It's called Accelerator. And basically what they were able to do, let me hop back to this, is design an aircraft. These guys were trying to build an EV aircraft. So it's got to be ultra light because you don't want to waste, when you're basically having a motor operating on batteries, you don't want to waste a lot of energy lifting unnecessary weight. But it's also got to be strong enough to withstand weather and etc., the usual things that an airframe's got to withstand. But this guy, I watched the interview with him. The president of this company said, because we were able to use this and fly it, literally simulate flying it and make adjustments while we're in flight. If the wing was bending a little bit too much, we could strengthen the wing actually while we were flying. We were able to do an iteration, a full ground up design iteration every month and get the, I think he said, get the design 98% perfect. He says, in the traditional way, you're lucky if you have 1 or 2 or 3 attempts at a total iteration. In other words, a total redesign ground up. And you're never, as a result, you're never even close to 98% of the perfect design. Incredible. Take a look at that one. That's a good one. And finally, launch. Launch it gets into manufacturing. I'm not going to touch manufacturing. It's a topic all in itself. Through process simulation, optimization, source of supply management. Blockchain is being used to track materials in shipment. That's the same software that's being used on Bitcoins. Quality management, even training is being done with AI for the people on the factory floor. Marketing, marketing's not quite as fast on the uptake. They're using AI to do pricing. Uber, for example, does dynamic pricing, real-time pricing based on supply and demand. Netflix uses AI to personalize pricing for its subscribers. Marketing communications, or Marcom, as some of you call it, AI actually writes, most companies are using AI to write the advertisements, the brochures, the websites, all the copy. Give it a try if you haven't. Copy and text generation, recommendations for you, for example, on Amazon, all of those things at the bottom. And Google uses AI to target its ads to people. This is a very disturbing chart. I'm switching gears a bit here, and I'm almost wrapping up, Alex, so hang on. This is wonderful, isn't it? All of the stuff I'm telling you, it's like a fairy tale. Well, the hard reality is it ain't happening. A handful of leading companies like the Nestle's and the Unilevers and the General Motors and the Procter & Gamble's are doing it. The great majority of companies in Europe and in the United States are not doing it. This is a survey that we did. This German gentleman who's head of an institute at Stuttgart University Technological Institute there. He and I did a study of German firms, which is in yellow, and US firms in blue. And this is the percentage of companies that are using AI for each of 13 possible applications. For example, laboratory automation, 7%. Prototyping, rapid prototypes with AI, 0% in the US. I mean, product design, 15%, 20, a little higher here. The Germans, by the way, outdo the Americans by about 50% across the board. There's an article, 2 articles written on this. If any of you are interested, I give a list at the end. So what we're seeing is there's a huge amount of hesitancy, and that American and European companies, if Germans are representative, perhaps they're ahead of the game. We did a similar study in Ireland looking at small businesses through an Irish institute and found even lower levels of adoption, frighteningly so, which is scary because IBM's reporting that India and China, the companies in those countries, are actually about double or triple what German and US levels are. So this is very, very frightening for us. This is the future. Western companies are not on board. Here's what some of the problems. They're not getting the results. They're screwing it up somehow. 18 to 36% of firms get the expected benefits. Only 53% of AI projects make it from prototype to production. There's an epidemic of failures here, a lot of screw ups. 70% of companies have minimal impact. 87% of their data science projects never make it into implementation. The failure rate is reported to be as high as 80%. People go out, they do their homework, they buy some software, rent some software, lease it, install it, and they consider it a failure. It sort of sits in a pilot mode for a couple of months, and then finally people pull the plug on it. It's called pilot paralysis. The failure rate is as high as 80%, which is about double the failure rate of typical corporate IT projects, far higher than the failure rate for new product development. Now, obviously, this is quite important to understand why this is happening. A lot of it, by the way, are screw-ups. And this is one of our studies that we did, why AI adoption projects fail. And a Harvard Business Review article had in the headline, in the title, mostly for dumb reasons. Bad data quality. Maybe you've heard of garbage in, garbage out. Well, that's the number one reason. Something that we've known for years. Failure to understand user needs, lack of appropriate change management in the company, lack of training, lack of hand-holding, unrealistic expectations, and a technical-only AI ops team, meaning a bunch of IT guys trying to do it in the company, which is a formula for failure. So there you have it, folks. On the other hand, and this is some data we used, industrial revolutions come really fast these days. It's the first one, of course, started in the UK, up around your neck of the woods. I've been to the city of Ironbridge, actually, to see some of the original Industrial Revolution artifacts. The first one lasted 85 years. The second one, electrification, Edison, Tesla, people like that, lasted 44 years. The third one was information. The information age lasted 28 years. We're into the fourth one now. If you plot the curve, it says 22 years, which means it peaks in about, and there's a typo here, sorry about that, it peaks in about 5 years. So if we're not ready for it as students, as businesses, as countries, we're in a lot of trouble. Thanks very much.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank Bob again for delivering that talk. So I thought that was quite a nice talk. Hopefully it sparked some ideas for different areas for AI innovation inside your organizations, whilst highlighting some of the pitfalls and still kind of going back to the fundamental opportunities that there are for adoption of this technology properly. So to close up today, I'd like to welcome Professor Carsten Welsh back to the floor.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Alex. And I thought it was really interesting to hear from Bob just now. I think he gave us a real how-to guide, if you want, that explains how we can all use the benefits of AI moving forward. It's just a few years ago, I had the pleasure of producing a film with Peter Higgs up in Edinburgh. And at that time, he said about discovery science, we've only scratched the surface. There's so much more to discover. And after hearing the discussion today, I think it is really fascinating how much this quote applies to the opportunities that AI brings to all of us. There were actually quite a few quotes today that I will keep in mind moving forward. Ben Scowen said when he talked about Kyndryl's plans that it was never so easy to innovate. And that clearly is almost like a call to action for all of us, that we really need to embrace the opportunities that AI brings. And Sana, just before in this session, mentioned that these technologies, they are here and they are not going anywhere. And that's really the reality that we have to face. And I think what Bob just presented is that it's where we find AI already without actually being aware all of the time is absolutely mind-blowing. And I think also the opportunities that came out of the discussions today are absolutely mind-blowing. Now, our Live-Inno Center for Doctoral Training has AI and machine learning techniques in its heart, and our students and our researchers, they are very keen to collaborate across a very large number of areas. So hopefully you enjoyed the day today, and you will engage with our seminars, our newsletter, our events, and ultimately potentially even join projects with our students and researchers in the future. I think the one thing that we saw is that the sky is the limit really for any of these innovations, and that we have a lot to learn, all of us collectively. And by working together across different sectors, we can really get the most out of it. Now, before closing, I would like to thank you, the audience, for joining us today. I would like to thank Alex for steering us extremely well through the day. All of our facilitators for managing the presentations, the presenters, obviously, who have spent a lot of time in preparing those talks for today, and also my project team at the Cockcroft Institute, and in particular Naomi for this event, who really have done the magic behind the scenes, and of course SDFC's media team, Laura, doing the magic and making sure that everything runs like clockwork. So I think that's us. That's it from us today. I guess any last words, Alex? If not, we can close the event and hopefully see you all sometime very soon.
Yeah, I think that's all from me as well. I look forward to speaking with everybody who connected today going forward in the future. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.